The scary season is upon us, and unlike other scary seasons that we've experienced this year, this scary season will be full of ghoulish, ghostly, and creepy apparitions. So beware, it's the ghastliest of all goblins! It's Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek!
In a world filled with intergalactic space battles, metahuman destruction on a global scale, and psychopathic serial hauntings, there's only one team who can make sense of it all. When your world is overrun with rampant pop culture, call Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek.
Hey! Oh! Another explosive episode of Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek. I am Loop.
And I'm Larry!
We are here, October, and happy Thanksgiving if you just celebrated Thanksgiving like we did.
Yep. Thanksgiving is like the week of like never-ending food into the gullet. It's like a week-long celebration of being thankful for how much food you have to eat. And then
we had smaller groups, like we're supposed to have smaller groups this year. So basically it's like the same amount of turkey and food with less people. So now it's like I can have leftovers for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, we did ours on Sunday, and today it is Tuesday, and we are on day 3 of leftovers.
Yeah. I love it. I could eat leftover turkey forever.
Oh, it's my favorite. It's so good. We are into Halloween month.
Yeah, I love it.
Loop and Larry's favorite time of year.
So cool. And of course, with Halloween, usually you're watching some horror movies and things. But first, let's just start out with what we're geeking out about this week. And Larry, something's hot, something's new right now on Netflix.
So this past Friday, the sequel to The Haunting of Hill House came out on Netflix. Haunting of Hill House has become one of my favorite horror television shows of all time. I've watched it now 3 times all the way through. So I was so excited to see the sequel and to have it go. So as soon as it launched, I tucked right in. and in 2 days I binged the whole thing.
So you've watched the whole thing now.
I've watched the whole season now, and it is fantastic.
It is. Okay, good.
Okay, but so here's the disclaimer, because if you go on social media and look up reviews of just people who are talking about their experience with it, it's predominantly negative.
Okay.
It's been crazy. This is like The Last Jedi all over again.
Oh no.
So yeah, it's like people just hating this thing, but then you have a segment of people who absolutely think it's amazing. So just before, I don't want to spoil any of it because it's so good, but just be aware that it is not at all like the first season.
Yeah. So
don't go into it thinking that it's full of jump scares and scary horror. It's not overly scary, and there aren't very many jump scares, but it's super creepy and it's very character driven. So it's a slow burn. Don't go in expecting tons of action and lots of ghostly crazy things, but it's a very slow burn, but the ending is amazing. It totally pays off, and I don't think it's a spoiler at all to say that it's a gothic romance. It's not even so much a ghost story. There are lots of ghosts. It's definitely a haunting, but it's predominantly a romance, it's really hard hitting. It's a really hard hitting romance. So just be aware going in that you're not going to get a carbon copy of Hill House. So it's not that same story. But personally, I was glad that they did it that way, because if they did 2 seasons of the same thing, I would think, okay, is this all we're going to get? We're just going to get every season is going to be another scary jump scare ghost story. This is not that. So they've taken it into a different direction, but it's definitely in the haunting universe. It's definitely part of what they're building on here. But so just be aware of that going in. But I was totally committed to this thing. I just thought it was great, and I've actually watched the first 2 episodes again.
That's
So
hilarious. So to
yeah,
sum up, it's terrible. Okay, let's move on.
yes,
And
that's where that's where most people stopped listening. Actually, it's terrible. Well, then I'm out.
I watched the first 4 episodes.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I've seen the first 4. I still 5 more to go, and I'm loving it. Like so far.
Oh, good.
And what I like about it so far is it's not all jump scares, but when there is something kind of creepy going on, this part I'll give away, just a little tiny part where she's in the basement and there's a whole pile of dolls, which is, I hate dolls.
Oh,
and I don't like them in real life. It's the one thing I am actually like legit scared of.
Yeah.
And one of them, and you could barely see it in the background, but one of them moves, and I'm like, what?
It literally just turns ahead.
But it's not even like focused on. It's just sort of maybe catch it in the background.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff that scares me more than like the jump scares. Like it's just this series so far by 4 episodes, I'm loving it.
It's so good, and just the ending, like it's okay. So again, not to give anything away, but when the credits finished rolling, I literally sat in silence for probably 5 or 6 more minutes, like literally just staring at the TV, like trying to take in what I like the whole thing. It was so powerful.
It does. It creates a mood for sure.
Yes.
And a show's good when you finish watching it and you're looking around your house for stuff. You're like,
yes. So that's the thing. So about midway through, it was about episode 5 or something, and this didn't happen to me at all during Hill House. Like I didn't have these moments necessarily during Hill House, but there was, after about season 5, I had a shower the next morning, and I was in the shower, and I literally creeped myself out thinking about like things that could be when I open up the shower curtain, or not that there's like ghouly things, but just I freaked myself out thinking about living in that world, and it literally creeped me out the next day. and that's awesome. Like it totally stuck with me. And you can see I'm actually sitting in front of Hill House or Bly Manor right now.
Oh yeah. Is it the same house inside as the other one? It looks almost exactly the same. Like I haven't like looked at them. I haven't looked at them like back to back, but the staircase, it wasn't the staircase like that in the last one too.
There was a staircase, but it wasn't. The layouts are similar. I think the houses are probably the same era. Like they're same age, so the architecture is similar, but they're definitely different houses, especially when they start walking through the halls and that sort of thing. It's definitely a different vibe. But man, because it's so slow, because it like is a slow burn, you expect things to happen and they don't necessarily, and it creates so like this tension.
It's better. The tension's better in this one because it's. I mean, I like that other stuff too. There were some pretty cool scenes in the last one. But this one, it's had a couple just little moments and things that are, I'm like, it's actually creepier.
Yes.
That way, because your mind starts to add things into the show that aren't there.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I cannot recommend this show enough, especially this time of year. It's fall. It's cool outside. It gets dark early, and this show is just so perfectly timed. It's a big one for me. I'll watch it probably at least 2 more times.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing it. Like we started watching it yesterday, and I was like, next thing you know, it's 4 episodes in.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, I gotta go to bed because it's.
But on top of watching all those, you've done some other cool Halloween things this month.
Yeah. So. Remember when we used to watch like a couple horror movies on Halloween night or like maybe the night before? Now the horror fans have extended this now to 31 days of horror, where you can watch 31 horror movies, like one a day if you want. I'm doing 31 throughout the month because obviously it's not easy all the time to watch one a day. Like it doesn't always work out. So I'm just watching 31. So I am now at 17 horror movies that I've watched.
Crazy.
So I've got,
but it's only the 13th of.
I've been flying through these things. I've been watching them. So my main one I'm watching through the whole thing. I'm going to watch all the Friday the 13th again.
Oh.
So that's going to be the basis of these 31, and I'm watching a couple of those.
Well, that'll take you to what, about 28? Right there?
Well, there's 12 of them altogether. So.
Yeah.
I've been kind of watching those. I'll watch a couple of them, and then I'll watch a couple other movies, and then come back to Friday the 13th. Because I found last year I watched all the Halloween movies last year.
Oh, right.
And that's all I watched. I just watched all of those last year. And I found when you watched them back to back, you sort of need a cleanser in between because they become kind of the same after a while. So it's nice to have a few movies in between. So some of the ones I've watched this year, I watched Psycho. The the original 1960 Psycho, which is awesome.
Not the remake with
no.
The shot for shot. That was horrible.
No, I skipped the remake. I thought about watching it after, but Psycho alone is just so good.
So good.
Babadook. I've never seen it before.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I've never seen that movie. Have you seen it?
Yes.
I found the kid incredibly irritating.
Oh.
Like, to the point where I was cheering on the Babadook to get him, because I was like, this kid is the most annoying kid I've ever seen on screen. The movie was well done, and I enjoyed it. I just found that kid extreme. I know he was supposed to be irritating, but I found him like irritating almost to the point where I wanted the Babadook to get him. I was cheering on the Babadook. And I like saying Babadook a lot.
That's Babadook.
And then I've watched Friday the 13th up to part 6, Jason Lives.
Okay.
So I've watched all this. When's the last time you've watched a Friday the 13th movie?
I watched Friday the 13th on Friday the 13th last year.
Yeah. They are varied in how good they are. Like they get they always add the later ones, they start adding these goofy characters in. Like there'll be like a hillbilly that's really goofy, or just somebody that's just like a goofy cop. And it's just it's so unnecessary. Like it just takes away from the whole movie. Like and they get away from the actual, like, for Friday the 13th, kids at a camp, Jason kills them. That's all you need. You don't need like people in like psychiatric wards and all that kind of these side stories. Just put a bunch of kids in a camp, Jason goes after them. That's all you need. That's it.
It could just be a new camp with every movie.
Yeah, like they started with that, and then they started doing all these extra, like, these characters that would run from one movie to the next, and it's just like, stop it. Like it's just getting I remember now how watered down it got after a while. Theater of Blood I watched with Vincent Price.
Yes.
That's Vincent Price, like, just unleashed. Like it's so good.
I've never seen it. That's on Shudder now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on Shudder. Yeah,
okay,
I own it as well, but it's worth a watch. It's really good. And just a couple other ones. I watched Poltergeist, which I haven't seen in a long time. You know those movies you just haven't seen in a while?
Yeah.
Poltergeist, which I think would be a fun one for us to discuss, actually.
I think so too.
I don't know when the last time you saw it was, but it's
a couple of years. It's been a few years, yeah.
Amityville Horror, which I haven't seen in forever.
Oh, I love that movie. I still think it's a great movie.
Yeah, and then the other one I watched, which I had never seen, is Tusk.
I've still never seen it.
It is so bizarre.
I don't know anything about it.
It's a Kevin Smith movie. It's a horror movie.
Oh, right.
And it is just like, I can't even describe it. It's so weird. Like,
is it good weird?
It's good weird. Like but it's very bizarre. Very bizarre. So
doesn't somebody grow tusks? Is that what it is?
It's weird.
Okay.
You have to watch. I can't even describe it because it kind of gives it away, and it's just so bizarre. So,
all right.
If you have a chance to watch that, maybe we can even watch it for this. I don't know. Whatever you want to do, but it's there's a couple good suggestions in there for us to watch for a pop capacitor for October for sure.
Excellent.
So
well, there's so many movies just on that. I haven't been doing the 31 days as much as I'd love to. I haven't done that. It is. That's really hard. But I did with my son and my wife and son the other night. They wanted to watch some kind of horror movie, but they're not really into like horror, hardcore horror. My son likes it, but my wife not so much. So we ended up watching Tim Burton's Frankenweenie.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that movie.
It's really, really good. I haven't seen it since it came out, but it's a great like family horror movie or Halloween movie. And it's really dark. Like there are some scenes in there that are really dark. Like for a Disney movie, we were questioning whether it was like PG-13 or there's some dark stuff that goes on in there, but it's so brilliant. And then we realized that there are a lot of stop motion animation movies that are very Halloween-y, because there's that one, there's Nightmare Before Christmas, there's Paranorman.
I forgot about that one too.
And Coraline.
Yeah.
Remember Coraline? And then there was another one I can't remember but they're like, you could, with a family, you could go through like just stop motion animation. There were like 5 or 6 of them that are like all Halloween based.
The thing with stop animation is it looks creepy anyways, so I think it just sort of lends itself to the Halloween sort of spirit. So
yeah, it does. So I'd recommend that for you folks who have young families but still want to stay in the horror genre, the Halloween theme. Go to the stop motion animation side. It's good.
Well, you know what else could be scary?
What's that?
The Pop 5.
Yeah.
What's hot? We'll tell you what's hot. It's the Loop and Larry Pop 5.
Well, here we are, the Pop 5. We're going to be looking at the top, 5 things in pop culture that we think are pretty cool. And Larry, what's number 5 this week?
Well, it's a pretty solid list this week. We're going to start right off at the top with a little Marvel news. We haven't talked about Marvel in a while because really there hasn't. Well, I mean, we talked about Marvel and talked about the fact that there hasn't been anything Marvel related.
Right.
But this time we've got Spider-Man, and there are lots of rumors and stories. What do you got on this one?
Well, this one's kind of cool because it looks like they're going to be bringing the Spider-Verse or the multiverse to Spider-Man, which I think is really cool. So Doctor Strange has been confirmed to be in Spider-Man, which already means something weird's going to happen because he's got a movie that has to do with a multiverse as well. So this might be the starting of that and getting into the Doctor Strange storyline. Yep. Jamie Foxx has pretty much confirmed that he's going to be playing Electro in these Marvel movies or in Spider-Man 3.
Yep.
Which means he's from the other the Sony Spider-Man series with Andrew Garfield. So he also said he won't be blue in this one, apparently. Oh. So but he'll still be the same Electro from the other one, which says that there's going to be might be a little bit of layering of all the different Spider-Man verses, because I've also heard that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, apparently they say they're confirmed. That's a rumor, but it sounds like that might happen. So there could be all 3 Spider-Mans from all 3 Spider-Man movies.
Really?
Which could be really cool.
That would be really interesting because they were so different. Like the Tobey Maguire and the Andrew Garfield Spider-Men were totally different. Like the way they portrayed the character. Yeah. So I think that's going to be very interesting to see how they blend them all.
It should be cool. It'll be interesting to see who else they end up getting in this, like who else ends up being signed to this. One of the rumors is that Spider-Man's going to have to battle like a whole series of villains, and the other 2 Spider-Man are going to help him. Now, I don't know if this is going to bring in the Spider-Man from the Miles Morales? The one?
Yep.
Yeah, the one from the other
Spider-Verse.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's going to introduce him in this. Who knows who's going to be in it, but they're really crossing these guys over.
It's going to be also really interesting to see what they do with the costumes. Like to see if the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man outfit is the same one that he used back in like those movies, and like Andrew, do you know what I mean? Because the outfit has evolved so much over the movies. It'll be interesting to see if they have like those retro outfits.
It'll be pretty cool. Like they kind of did this with DC with Flash and all those where they did that. So it'll be cool to see how they do it with Marvel if they end up putting this together the way everybody's hoping it's going to go. But so this movie again has been pushed to whenever. It's supposed to be to December 2021 is when this movie's supposed to be cut out. So it's not too bad. It's not too far away.
No, that's because it wasn't going to be this year anyway, was it?
I don't think so. No, I think it's supposed to be early next year, summer of next year or something. So they pushed it back a bit. But,
so that's not a huge delay.
No, I'll take it.
yeah, exactly. That's all right. And speaking of new movies coming out, the trailer just dropped for Stephen King's The Stand. And this time it's another limited edition series. Have you read the book?
I read the book twice, actually.
Really?
And of the few books I've actually read,
yes.
I read The Stand twice. I love The Stand. The miniseries was a pretty good adaptation of it that came out in 1994. So this one, they'll be able to there's a lot of things obviously they meld characters together and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in this one. Now, can I remember the book from that far back? Not really, but my memory is more of the miniseries now than of the book, but who knows? Maybe I'll pick it up again. But it's a thick book. It's big.
Yeah.
It's a huge book, but it looks really cool. The trailer looked pretty cool for it.
Yeah. And this has got Whoopi Goldberg.
Yes.
Starring in it, which is an interesting choice. I think she is a good fit. It's going to be a different take, I think, than the 1994 version.
Yeah. So in the book, it's very funny because it's about a plague that wipes out 99.4% of the population. So it's very similar to what's going on now in a way. Yeah. But this group of survivors is pulled together, and there's sort of like a good and a bad faction, like evil and good. So a lot of it takes place following the characters as single characters till they all eventually meet up, and that doesn't happen till probably I'd say maybe halfway through the book. Like they all finally meet up. So there'll be a lot of like single storylines sort of happening. But it's a good story. It should be pretty cool to see what they do with it. So
yeah. Well, the trailer was well done. So I think there's a lot of potential for this one.
I'm looking forward to it. That's supposed to be December this year as well. So I think it's done. I think it's ready to go. It's just a matter of it coming out. So
yeah, and I mean, at TV properties, I think it's easier for them to launch them because people stay at home. It's the ones that you have to go to the theater that are getting pushed. Yeah. So as long as a series is done, they'll probably stick to their schedule.
Yep.
So so that's good. So we could actually see another Stephen King property this year, which is, I mean, anytime a new Stephen King property comes
out, that's Stephen King.
We're all over it. All right, number 3. Speaking of things that are delayed and movies that are delayed, we have a list because, of course, we had a whole bunch of movies that were scheduled for this year, like huge blockbusters. Everybody was super excited about what was coming out this year, and then the world went the way the world went, and now everything is delayed. So in the last few days, they've started releasing new dates for these big blockbuster movies, and some of them we're gonna have to wait a while on, which was sad. So I don't have the whole list. There's a you can look it up online, but I just wrote down a few of the big names that we were all looking forward to, and here's some new dates for it. A Quiet Place 2. Now we're talking about horror again. Quiet Place 2 was supposed to come out in March of this year.
Yep.
But it must have just been right on the cusp of this whole pandemic. So now it is April of next year. So a year we have to wait for that one. The new James Bond has been pushed several times and then was supposed to come out in November.
Yeah.
Originally it was supposed to come out in April. It's supposed to come out in November. Now it's coming out April 2nd of 2021. So they're delaying that one for a year. Black Widow was supposed to come out in May. It is now May 7th, 2021. Unless
they pushed that again. They pushed that to the fall too, and it's now been pushed again.
I feel like that one's done. Like it's got to be finished.
Yeah, it's done. It's ready to go. I think it's just I think the problem was they wanted to push it. Well, let's talk about the theaters in a second. Let's go through your list, and then we'll talk about that.
Candyman, which was one that I was really looking forward to, the remake. It's the Jordan Peele remaking Candyman, was supposed to come out in June. Now it's coming out. It's been moved to 2021 as well. Soul, the new Disney Pixar movie, which apparently the reviews are starting to come out. They're saying it's probably one of the best Pixar movies. Oh, wow. It was supposed to come out in June of this year. Now they're thinking it may just go straight to Disney Plus. Same thing that they did with the last Pixar movie. So that might be that happening there. Wonder Woman has been pushed, but now there's also talk of it going to a streaming service. So it may not even go to theaters. Yeah, it might just go streaming. Top Gun Maverick was supposed to come out in June. It is now July 2nd, 2021, so a full year down the road. Ghostbusters Afterlife was supposed to come out in July. It's now March 5th, 2021. So
that movie's just disappeared off the map, eh? Like, remember how like everybody was so excited about this new Ghostbusters, and then it literally just disappeared like a ghost into a ghost trap.
It ghosted us. Ghostbusters. So March 5th of 2021. Venom, Let There Be Carnage. So the sequel was supposed to come out in October, was supposed to come out this month, is now June 25th, 2021. I've seen nothing about that. Have you?
No, I've seen not even a trailer or anything.
So which is weird because it was supposed to come out this month, which means you'd think that they'd at least have trailer footage.
Yeah, maybe they held back on it only because they're waiting to find an actual date.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Halloween Kills, which we've talked about on the show before, we were super excited about. It's supposed to come out this month, now coming out October 15th next year. So we have a whole year to wait, which means that Halloween Ends has been pushed as well to October of 2022.
Right.
So that one's been pushed a year. Dune, which they've released the trailer and it's super cool and exciting, was supposed to come out in December this year. They've just announced it's coming out October 21st of next year, so that's a long way away. The Batman was supposed to come out in June. It's now March 4th, 2021. And the last one I have is The Eternals, was supposed to be November. It is now November 5th, 2021. A year. Everything's being moved by like a pretty solid year. So that means that next year is going to be stacked.
And they've also closed some movie theaters, right? Isn't there a chain that was closing or?
Well, they had talked about Cinemark in the States closing because they said that they've run out of money, and their parent company is a British company, I believe, who said that they were going to shut down a bunch of the theaters there, but then that they put a hold on that, so it's not currently closing. But I did just read today that AMC theaters in the States have said that their cash flow, like their emergency cash fund, will run completely dry by the end of this year or January, February of next year.
Oh,
which
wow.
means that AMC is in trouble. And that's saying something. That's a huge chain.
I heard somewhere in Canada too, like Cineplex might be in trouble as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all in trouble. I mean, really, when you think about it, I mean, I've only gone to, I think 2 movies in the theater, 2 or maybe 3 in the theater. And when I've gone, I went to see Star Wars because I went to see Empire Strikes Back in the theater when it ran. I was literally in the theater by myself. There was nobody else in the theater, which was pretty cool, but there was nobody there.
Really?
Yeah, it was completely empty. And it was like a 6:45 show. Like it wasn't in the afternoon, or it was like but it was completely empty. So I think people are just not going. So, any movies that are opening, there's no way they're making their money back.
Well, this is my problem with this whole thing, and it's the chicken or the egg situation, because people are a little leery about going to the theater, but the problem is you have to give them something to go to the theater for, and there's nothing out, and that's the problem. I mean, we can only watch so many retro movies, which I don't think they're doing a great job of putting in as it is. Like occasionally they'll put something cool like Empire Strikes Back, but it's not really advertised well, and they need to put something else in there to get people excited about, like maybe all the Star Wars movies in a row or something to get people kind of like interested in going. But the problem is that the studios aren't putting out the movies and they keep delaying them. So there's nothing exciting to go see at the theater. And so nobody's going. So there might not be theaters there for them to release to when it comes time to release them, because these theaters need material. They need fresh movies to play, or else people just won't be interested in going. So I don't know. Like the movie, it's the movie studios. They have to take a risk on it, because look at like New Mutants. New Mutants is still playing. It's been playing for like 10 weeks. So I mean, I'm sure I don't know if it's made back its money, but I'm sure it must be close by this point, because it's been in the theater for so long. So imagine like like one of the Marvel movies, like Black Widow, sitting in the theater for like 4 to 8 weeks, like with nobody against it. Like to me, this is a perfect time to put out a movie. But
yeah, you'd think so. But it's interesting because Tenet did hit the theaters. Yeah. And I think it made 300,000 or something like that. Like I think it barely broke budget. Like it's not doing exceptionally well. But then they released Hocus Pocus back to theaters for October. Hocus Pocus outsold Tenet in the theaters when it was there. Like,
oh really?
Yeah, it made more box office than Tenet did. So yeah, I don't know. It's a very, you're right. It is a chicken and egg thing. Like who's gonna have to break first to get the crowds back? And I don't know. I hope, like, I was also reading today that Disney is now reconsidering their whole theater component and pushing harder on their streaming services. So it's quite possible that more and more Disney movies might be going directly to streaming rather than to theaters at all. So we might be finding that more big budget movies are going to go to streaming services and on demand.
Yeah.
Which means that the TV industry, like the hardware, the buying a TV, could skyrocket, because people are going to want bigger screens. If you can't go to a movie theater, you're going to want the biggest possible screen you can get, because that's where you're going to watch movies now.
Yeah, it's weird, and I don't know and then the theaters can only hold so much capacity too, so who knows how it's going to go. But hopefully everybody will be fine, and some movies will start coming out. People will start showing up to movies. So.
All right, so moving on to pop number 2. Speaking of movies, they've announced a remake of a movie that's making me kind of sad. Luke, do you want to tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, they're going to remake The Others with Nicole Kidman. Of course, that's the one where she lives in the giant everyone lives in giant homes. He's in this massive mansion, and the kids are
Bly Manor.
Yeah, they're Bly Manor, and the kids are all the kids are photosensitive, so all the lights have to be down and all that. And it's more creepy than anything. It's got a cool twist ending, but it's I don't know, why can't they just remake this movie and call it something different, or like make up their own movie? If they might not even keep the same script. So why is it the same movie?
But it doesn't, like, this movie had a very specific twist ending. So unless if they keep that same twist ending, then people are going to know what the ending is. So what's the point in seeing it? And if they don't keep that twist ending, then it's not the same movie. So then this doesn't make it. And like, to me, this is one of like horror's classic movies. Like, this is one of probably in my top 10 favorite movies. I loved that movie. And I think, I can't see any way to improve it. So it doesn't make any sense to me why they would choose this movie to remake. Like, I don't get it.
You know what they should do is rewatch Nightmare on Elm Street when they tried to remake it.
Yes.
And then they'll see what goes wrong when you try to remake a classic movie. Don't.
That's right. Just don't do it. There's no reason for it. Please, just don't. Maybe it'll fall apart. Maybe the one good thing that'll come out of the pandemic is them saying, you know what, nobody's going to go see it, so let's not make it.
Yeah,
maybe that'll happen.
Let's hope so.
That's what I'm going for. All right, moving on. Number one pop 5 of this week, and this is a biggie. Chuck E. Cheese is hitting the big time.
What's happening with Chuck E. Cheese?
What's that?
What's happening with Chuck E. Cheese?
Oh, the rumors are, it's not even so much a rumor, that they're making live action movie with Chuck E. Cheese and an animated show with Chuck E. Cheese. They are bringing the Chuck back.
Is it like a horror movie, or what it's supposed to be? Just a movie.
No, it's just like a movie.
Those lovable characters from Chuck E. Cheese.
Exactly.
That I don't really know that well. I've been to Chuck E. Cheese once, I think, in my life.
Well, exactly. And I mean, technically, it could be a horror movie because those characters were pretty horrific on the stage. Like, they just...
Don't they have a band or something?
They kind of look like that. It was terrible. But so Chuck E. Cheese, I don't know if anybody knows this. I didn't know this until I read this. You may not know this. So his name is Chuck E. Cheese. What do you think E stands for?
No idea.
Entertainment. It is Charles Entertainment Cheese. That is his actual name. Charles Entertainment Cheese. So the company, the goal of the news, so they've created an entertainment division. I know, I don't get it. So the Chuck E. Cheese CEO, David McKillop, said that his company has just launched its own entertainment division. And the goal of this new segment of the company is to get their brand mascot, Charles Entertainment Cheese, by way into film and TV. First, before they get into film and TV, they're going to build up the brand so everybody's super excited about it by focusing on merchandising and toys. So going to be hot on this year's Christmas list is the Chuck E. Cheese play set.
So it's a business that right now is probably hurting because of the pandemic, because no one really can go there.
Yep.
They're trying to build up a character that has been around forever that no one's ever cared about.
Not so much. Nope.
And with a pizza that is the worst pizza I think I've ever had in my life. I remember we went there and I'm like, oh, I cannot wait to try this pizza because it's Chuck E. Cheese. And I assumed it was this nice deep dish, like beautiful pizza. No, nothing.
Terrible pizza. The only thing good about Chuck E. Cheese was the salad bar. and that was questionable too. So that's it for the Pop 5 this week. I think it's time after Chuck E. Cheese to move backwards in time, and let's get ourselves back into that pop capacitor.
Here we go. All right, we are here. It's the Pop Capacitor, where we look back at a film, a TV show, or something in pop culture, and we review it again. It is October. It is the month of horror movies, so we are looking at a movie called Pumpkinhead. This movie came out on January 13th, 1989. Stars Lance Hendrickson. The budget, $3.5 million, which was probably pretty decent for that time. and it went on barely to make over 4 million. So the movie didn't do as well as maybe they hoped. I think though in home video release after that, it's become more of a cult classic later on. So it's 86 minutes in length, which I love. That's a perfect horror movie length. And so let's talk about Pumpkinhead. So Lawrence, right off the top, like give me a little bit of synopsis of what happens in this movie.
Well, this is interesting because I had never seen it. This is my first time watching this movie, so I didn't grow up with this cult classic. But essentially, it's it's a horror movie, but it's more about folklore and like the lore around this Pumpkinhead type demon that people can call upon and summon to take care of their enemies or do something to people that they don't like. So in this situation, a father, it was just a father and son. The son was outside playing. They were a rural, like a small town, because these things all happen in small towns. Small town setting. The father and son are, very nice little family. City slickers come into town.
Oh, not the city slickers.
In their big fancy cars, and their motorcycles, and they're stirring things up. and one thing leads to another, and the little boy is killed by the city slickers. Yeah. So that prompts the father to kind of go out of his mind and summon the demon Pumpkinhead to take care of the situation.
To get revenge on these city slickers.
Yeah.
So I thought this movie, like just as a quick synopsis, I thought this movie was awesome. Like I really enjoy this movie. I thought it's really well done. So right away when the kids are introduced, and this is really hick. Like the people like Lance Henriksen and the people in this area are like super like
backwater.
Yeah, really backwater, and it's really Hickville. And they own like a little like sort of variety store, a little general store, and that's where the kid is when they accidentally kill this kid. But as soon as the kids show up, I'm like, oh no, this is like it's a classic, stupid kids that are just dorking around and whatever. And I'm like, it's a simple one. But I noticed when they actually kill the kid, it was pretty realistic. Like their reaction. Yeah. It wasn't like they're all like, let's just get out of here. Like they were actually very concerned for this child. And one actually stays behind till the dad gets there, which I was surprised at. But it freaked the kids out. And it was like which in most of these movies, they don't really seem to care that somebody's just died. But this one, they were actually looked like they were feeling a lot of guilt over this. And of course, there's the one kid though that can't. He's got like the tough guy character that's got to get out of there because apparently he's wanted by the police.
Of course he is.
but if they said it was an accident, like they could probably gotten away with it. But of course, as soon as you run away, you look really guilty.
Yes, exactly. But that's true. Like there's a very long sort of scene right when the kid is killed about like just panic, like what do we do? No, you need to run and get the police. I'll stay here. No, we need to help. We need to it felt like what would really happen in that situation. It wasn't a typical horror movie or like teen movie where everybody was like, go, let's get out of here. It didn't feel like that. So it added a bit more realism. I mean, a bit more realism to the situation, which and it also separated the good kids from the bad kids, because there's like a group of them. There's maybe 8 kids or 7 or 8 kids. It separated the ones who were obviously bad and like, we got to get out of here, we can't be, with the ones that are good. So it set them up, so then you had a bit more sympathy for some of these characters than you did for the others. It's not like they're all bad and you just want to see them all get killed by Pumpkinhead. Like, they're not all bad. Like they it's I think that really helped. Like that one scene really set up the characters in such a way that you felt a lot more for them during the rest of the movie. Yeah.
And Lance Henriksen plays Harley, who's sort of the main character. His son's killed. Sometimes it was funny too when people die in this movie. You can see like their eyes kind of moving, or like a hand will like slowly move as though they're supposed to be dead. I mean, I guess it's hard when you're like have to keep a straight shot on someone for a long time, I guess. But because there's a part where he picks up his son, and you can see his son's arm move around his neck.
Yep.
Like when he picks
Hold
him
on.
up.
It just makes sure he didn't fall off. Yeah. Well, I thought he was alive. I thought, oh, the kid's not dead.
Well, that's what I thought, but then I realized he was dead. But I'm like, oh, he's just a kid, right? Trying to act. So it's like, which I thought the kid did a good job.
We should also mention this is the first directorial movie of Stan Winston, who's the special effects artist who like world renowned, who created all kinds of like iconic monsters and creatures and things like that. So this was his first directing experience. So he created the Pumpkinhead character and also directed the movie. So so there were things that were maybe a more seasoned filmmaker may not have allowed to happen, but this is his first jump into the director's chair. So we could forgive him a little bit.
So Harley goes and he takes his son. And this is where he finds there's a legend of this witch that can bring back this Pumpkinhead sort of character. I don't know if it's called Pumpkinhead in the movie or
they do. Yeah.
So he finds the witch, and I thought this witch was really cool looking.
Yeah. She was
really, actually kind of frightening.
She was probably more frightening than Pumpkinhead, I thought.
Yeah, a little bit actually.
Yeah.
Because she was in this room with like this fire, and so you only saw like the glow of her face, and she's like super old. Yep. And anyway, she tells them how to go to this graveyard just to dig up these bones of Pumpkinhead, and then they end up creating Pumpkinhead from what was left, which was like the blood of him and his son, and then the bones of this Pumpkinhead character.
It's pretty graphic. Like, I mean, that's pretty gross. But it's this whole folktale thing of how you create this that's I thought was a cool twist. It wasn't just like a monster. It wasn't just like a killer creature. And by the way, he doesn't actually have a pumpkin for a head. His head is sort of maybe vaguely shaped like a pumpkin, I guess. But he doesn't have a pumpkin. So here's the thing that I kept going back to. This movie reminded me a lot of Alien. Yeah. Not the movie itself, but the creature, because the creature looks very similar to a xenomorph. Yeah. Like the creature from Alien, in that it's always drooling. Like there's always like drool coming out, and he kind of stalks around like the alien creature. Like he looked very similar to.
He has an alien type head too. He's got like the sort of the farther back part of the head, like the alien does.
Yeah. And the tall shoulders, like the bony shoulder kind of pieces. Like it looked like he definitely took inspiration from the creatures in Alien to create this thing. Yeah. Which was a little bit distracting for me, just because I thought like it's too similar, but it was still a really neat creature. Like it was still really well done. Yeah. But just if you need to visualize something, that's sort of, if he's more orange than he is black, like the aliens, but he's very drooly. He got very a lot drooly. Of stuff
this creature is very drooly.
But the creature was pretty cool.
It actually looked really good. It was really well done. Yeah. And so basically the creature then starts to hunt down all these kids and killing them. Which the first kill that Pumpkinhead does is the kid that actually stayed behind and had remorse for this child. Yes. Which I'm like, why would he kill him? Like, like that kid probably, anyone should have been let go and not killed. Like, because if he's only going at, but I guess they're all guilty by association apparently, and they just go after the Pumpkinhead doesn't really care who. Yeah. They're all one group to him. So they're
exactly. All, he was summoned to kill. He'll do his job. He's like a mob hitman.
That's right.
Not asking questions. You pay me to kill a dude, I'm gonna kill a dude.
Now this is where I thought the movie was really cool, because the kids did show remorse for this child, and it wasn't like they're like only the one wanted to get out of there because he didn't want to get caught by the police. Right. But because they did, he felt for the kids a little more because he didn't really think they deserved it, which is also what Harley didn't think after this thing started killing it. And he's like, this is wrong. Why did I do this? This is like not what I should have done. So then he goes after the Pumpkinhead to kill it before it kills any more of the kids that he basically told the Pumpkinhead to kill. Yeah. So it's like, because he realized that he's like, this was not a good idea. I should not have done this. This is like, I'm as bad as the kids that killed my son, essentially, right? Like, it becomes a question of morality at that point. But it was so cool. Like, I thought that was a cool twist on it. And
it was totally different from horror in general, because you don't usually get, I mean, because by that point he's he's pretty much like the Pumpkinhead, like he's controlling Pumpkinhead, like he's part of, so you don't usually get remorse from that side of it in a horror movie. So that was a really interesting take as well, I thought. And then it, like, I don't want to give away the ending because you may be interested in watching it now, but the ending is really cool. It's a really neat twist, and again, it's all folklore, and it gives you a bit more insight into like where this Pumpkinhead creature comes from and why it's all still around and that sort of thing. So I thought the ending was really a cool twist that I did not see coming. But it was almost like a I don't want to say a sweet twist, like a sweet like storyline, but it wasn't scary. It was just a really interesting way to end a horror movie. I thought it was very cool. Definitely could have opened it up for sequels.
Which it did. There's quite a few sequels after this one. I think there's like 4 or 5 sequels or something. It's like ridiculous that no one was interested in, because it must have made enough money that they're like it warranted a sequel, I guess. I don't know. Like,
well, I feel like in the 80s, movies didn't even need to make that much money to create a sequel. I think they probably recognized that they had a cool character, and they were like, well, you know what, we can do more things with this and build more of an audience. And I don't think, because I think now it's all about box office. Like, a movie has to make a certain amount of money or return to warrant a sequel. But if, like, obviously in the 80s, that's not the case, because you've got like 16 or 17,000 Leprechaun movies.
Oh yeah.
And, you know what I mean? And I'm sure none of those made tons of money. And then all the Friday the 13th and the Nightmare on Elm Streets and the Chucky movies, and like, as long as they came up with a really cool villain or a character, I think they were just like, let's just go and see like where this ends up. And it's good that they did that, because that's what creates a cult following.
Yeah, even Amityville had, like, I was looking at it because I'd watched the thing, and they had like a ton of sequels, like of different varieties of after that movie came out, just trying to capitalize on that whole story. I think one of them has like a lamp was sold at a garage sale that was from the house, and it started haunting the people. So it was like, that's how bad it got after a while.
Yeah. But they're still fun to watch, but they're not good movies. They're definitely not making any money, or not very much. But
for an 80s movie, I thought it was pretty solid. Like, I didn't think there wasn't a lot of like continuity things I noticed, or like, I thought that it was like well done, well acted. Like, Lance Hendrickson's always great, like when he does stuff. He's so intense, like he's just an intense person. And I just thought it was just a really well put together movie with like the whole Pumpkinhead, like what do you call that? Like the legend and everything else, like all really flowed well together. I thought it was really cool. Yeah,
the whole movie, I don't know if you saw this or not, was based on a poem.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the poem of Pumpkinhead. We'll try to find it and post it on our socials, but it's not very long. It's actually really short. But it's a cool idea that he found this poem and thought, this is a neat idea. This is a cool character, something called Pumpkinhead, and let's try to expand on it and build on it. And I think he was really successful. Like, I think it worked.
So I heard it was based on Peter Pumpkinhead by Crash Test Dummies. That's what I thought. I heard it was based on that song, so I don't know.
You were grossly misinformed.
Oh, okay, sorry.
You heard.
I don't know where I'm getting my information from exactly, but
probably from your own head.
I couldn't even say that with a straight face. It was so
I knew that was going off the rails, whatever you were going to say, because you couldn't get it out.
I can't say Crash Test Dummies without laughing for some reason. But anyways, so and all in all, I thought this movie really held up. It's really worth another watch if you're going to be watching a bunch of horror movies this October. I thought it was just a solid movie, and it's only 86 minutes, so it's perfect length of a horror movie.
You take out the credits, and it's like 83 minutes.
You can whip through that thing like nothing.
Exactly. It's solid. Like, if you're looking for classic 80s horror, it's got to be in there. You got to watch it. Sure. It's a solid one. It still holds up.
All righty. Yeah. Hey, that's another podcast.
I think that's it. That's like a whole podcast right there.
We almost need a sound effect to get out of the pop capacitor. We need like a get back in the car and come back.
We should, because
you work on that. We'll see.
Just realize that every pop podcast we do, we're stuck in the past at the end of it. We never come out.
We've never left the pop capacitor.
No.
We just keep getting deeper.
Exactly. By the time this is all done, we're going to like literally living in the Jurassic era.
That's right.
We're going to keep going back and back and back.
Watch Land of the Lost next will be our next show. So thank you everybody for listening and watching if you're on YouTube. We had some delay issues on YouTube, so there might be a few delays here and there, some frozen faces once in a while, but hey, that's technology and what else can we do about it?
We'll call that the curse of October.
It is. It's the October curse.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Produced by Matthew C. Loop and Lawrence Simner. A Loop and Larry production.
Bueller.
He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
Bueller.
Bad news. Fog is getting thicker.
And Leon's getting larger.
Inconceivable.
Brian's right. It's an elf.
Wax on.
Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
Oh, Captain, my captain.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Wax off.